How's it going, guys? I'm here at the Good Cup Coffee, my favorite coffee spot here in the Philippines. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be interviewing Gio, one of the original founders and now the owner of the Good Cup, about their business and coffee and so many of my favorite topics today. Amazing thing about Gio, he's only 25 years old and he's just really an inspiration as a local business owner here in the Philippines, and I'm sure you're going to learn so much from this interview with him. But first, show me some love, guys. If you haven't already liked and subscribed and shared this video, what are you waiting for? Share, and I'll see you soon. So guys, very excited here to have Gio with us.
Hi, Ron.
Thank you so much for meeting with us again.
Yes, definitely.
Gio and the Good Cup here have been our suppliers, as those of you that have watched the channel for a while know, for Delish Deli. But Gio, it's not just yourself that owns Good Cup, right? Can you tell me a bit more about who owns Good Cup and how you guys got your start?
So the Good Cup was discovered last 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I had partners when the business started, and there was a tragic incident that happened April 2019, and after that the other partners decided to sell their shares back, so leaving me behind.
Sure.
But happily, I'm very happy with the support of my team. And aside from that, I have a very nice support system, my family, my wife. So we were able to somewhat survive during those trying times.
Sure.
It was hard, but at the same time, it reminded myself, I was able to understand how important it is to have a very good support system. And that also extends towards the whole organization. Yeah, which stayed.
Sure, that's great. So at the beginning, was it a group of friends or brothers? What?
It was a group of friends.
Okay.
And one of our partners passed away. Yeah, may the soul rest in peace. But after that, I think there was a shift of plans.
Sure. So take me back to the beginning. There was some friends, and you guys are living your everyday life. What gave you guys the idea that we're going to start a coffee place?
So our origin story, as what we call it in coffee, the origin story is that before my first experience with specialty coffee was drinking a cup of coffee in Manila. This was 2017.
Okay.
And after that, coffee was so good that I had to research more about the beverage, and I found out a month after that eureka moment, I was already in Baguio, learning how the farmers produce coffee.
Okay.
I also enrolled in a short course about coffee. So technically that was the beginning, and then somewhat we got connected with other partners through different organizations. So my late partner John and I used to work together as a barista.
Sure.
I used to intern for a coffee shop here in Cebu, and he was the head barista.
Sure.
And then the other partner is also a friend, so that's how everything started.
Great. So you really had some specialty coffee, and it was just kind of a light bulb moment, like you became a bit of an addict on the spot, it sounds like, and really passionate about coffee.
Yeah, so that's technically how the idea started. Like, okay, we'll open a cafe and an academy to make something more different. And then the roastery idea just followed through. By the time we thought about how can we produce our own coffee or roast our own coffee to cut down the cost.
Sure, sure.
So, and the ending is the roastery technically became our the whole business model revolved around that, roasting coffee and supplying other cafes.
Okay, so definitely want to get back to that, but tell me a bit more about the beans. You know, we've had you on the channel more than once, and some people have said, if they're a Philippines-based coffee place, they should only be selling beans from the Philippines. What are your thoughts on people that might say something like that?
Well, for us, we are happy to carry a lot of Philippine coffees, but at the same time, we are also happy to carry coffees that are from other origins, from other coffee growing regions.
Right.
For us, the reason why we want to do that because we want to share more to the local market how other coffee growing countries produce their coffee, how it tastes. So the main the company's promise is really to highlight the origin characteristics of the farmer and the farm and the craftsmanship of the producer.
Sure.
So that being said, we realize that focusing purely with Philippine coffees will help. It will technically let us have somewhat like a barrier of wanting to fulfill our promise of giving that wow factor to the customers. I mean, Philippine coffees are really lovely, and it's getting there where the local harvests are continuously improving. The quality is becoming better every year.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's also nice to give something to the local customers that they haven't tasted yet.
Right, right.
So when they get that wow moment, they get hooked with, the whole process of coffee tasting, coffee brewing.
Sure, sure.
And then that's where we explore. So it's like technically, how can we make coffee enjoyable by sourcing other beans from other countries and making it accessible to the customers while carrying Philippine coffees.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So what if you were to compare, Philippine coffee compared to, other countries that supply a lot of coffee? There's a lot of competition out there. I know that you guys have, entered different competition. How would you say that Philippines coffee compares with coffee in other parts of the world?
Well, coffee quality, if you look at it in an objective way, Philippine coffee's quality is getting better and better every year. Other coffee growing regions or countries like Ethiopia, Panama, the environment is allowing the coffees to grow wonderfully. In the Philippines, we used to be a major producer of coffee, and then we got hit with a leaf rust or a coffee disease that wiped out a lot of our crops. This was 1980s.
Okay.
And the farmers had a hard time recovering back from that. So technically, it was back to zero, back to square one.
Right, right.
And from there, the majority of what we produce is being sold to commercial, a lot of commercial big guys in the coffee industry to be produced as instant coffee. So somewhat there is still a missing link of quality as a whole, but at the same time, we see that every year there's a huge improvement. In fact, this year, 2021, there was a bidding for the best coffees in the Philippines. So it was called Philippine Coffee Quality Competition. So what they do, they choose the best. They taste the best the beans from different from different farmers around Philippines, and they grade it. And then from the grading, they auction it from 1 to 10, I think. So it's categorized separately as Robusta, best top Robustas and best top Arabica. So these are species.
Okay.
And the Arabica surprisingly garnered around $54 per kilo, which is really expensive. It's already getting to a price where globally that pricing is already like a geisha level of coffee. Geisha is like the Bordeaux of coffee. It's like a really high quality variety.
I see.
So we're getting there.
That's great.
We're getting there. At the same, I'm very happy to work more with local farmers. This year we have tripled our consumption and purchase of local beans. So we're working more with local producers, local cooperatives.
Great.
And we also won the Philippines #1 Robusta lot, which is unusual for us.
That's great.
We tasted the coffee, the Robusta, and it was so good. Everyone thinks it's an Arabica because of how sweet it is. So technically, for comparison, if you look at quality and price and value, Philippines is still at an expensive side. But at the same time, if you compare it to, let's say, a Brazil.
Sure.
But at the same time, what it used to be before is that if you taste a Philippine coffee and a Brazil coffee, a Philippine coffee would be a bit more fruitier, sweeter. The Brazilian coffee would be more on the chocolatey, nutty side. But the Brazilian coffee is like half the price.
Okay.
So that's for a better context.
Sure.
The pricing is quite expensive. But at the same time, what's happening now is that Philippine coffees are becoming better and better and better to the point that there are more people that are willing to pay for the price and the quality.
Right.
Because they already see the value. We see the value so much now.
Sure. So what about in the Philippines when we talk about coffee? Is there certain coffee growing regions in the Philippines, or is it spread out equally across the islands?
So it's spread out. We have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. In Luzon, we have a few coffee growing towns and municipalities and areas there. So we have Benguet, we have Sagada. Those are popular Arabica growing areas.
Okay.
We have also like Cavite, which is quite known, and Batangas, which is quite known for Liberica, that's Barako. So Philippines is quite lucky because we grow the 4 species in coffee. So Liberica, Excelsa, Robusta, and Arabica. And we're one of the few countries that these 4 species are grown. And in Luzon alone, we have a few coffee growing areas. So they grow multiple varieties such as Liberica, Excelsa, Robusta that can be grown in lowlands. Arabica needs to be grown in the highlands, so the highlands of Baguio, Sagada. If you get into Visayas, we grow a lot of Robustas, so Negros grows as well.
Okay.
I heard Bohol is growing. In Mindanao, Mindanao technically is the largest coffee growing region in the country.
So I want to talk more about your business model as well, and especially your origins. When you guys first began, did you start off out of home or selling online, or did you get a commercial space right at the very beginning?
So when we started this branch and we opened last November 2018. So technically we started as a brick and mortar. We started roasting small, just to practice, how to roast coffee.
And that was here?
It was in a very small area.
Okay.
And then we moved here by the time this was open because we were still renovating.
This is all in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
So August 2018, we started roasting just to practice. And just to have an MVP, minimum viable product.
Right.
And by the time we opened this last November 2018, the renovations were done. We started seeing ourselves as a cafe and a roastery and an academy. So,
so that was your MVP. Did you have a certain amount of coffees that you offered at the time?
At that time, we only offered 3 coffees for pour-overs and 2 coffees for espresso.
Okay.
So quite limited. We don't have 5 coffees on the table. But at the same time, it was good enough for us to get so much feedback from customers, learn how to operate it. But to be honest, at that time, our we wore the hat that we thought that we would be expanding more on the brick and mortar.
Right.
So the academy was there to expand, to help our wholesale part of the business, so that we can train the people that we supply coffee with.
Right, right. Do you still offer that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We still train cafes, restaurants, and in terms of coffee making, especially we call it the anchor accounts, where they really need the training because it's a very essential part of their operations.
Right, right. What about now? You know, if somebody orders coffee from you and they're in the US or Japan, how long is it normally going to take them to get their coffee, and is it predictable and reliable now?
So during the start of the pandemic, it was unpredictable. It sometimes arrives after 2 days, sometimes it arrives after 10 days.
That's not too bad though.
Yeah, but now, recently, we see a lot of flights being disrupted because of the changing mandates.
Okay.
Not just in the Philippines, but also other countries, which is affecting because when we ship to United States, there are multiple connecting flights. So sometimes our parcels get stuck in Guangzhou, China, because the flight is going to be 2 days after for the United States. So we see that happening. It's very dependent. We see a lot of disruptions in shipping. I'm sure globally it's happening. It's a global problem now.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I have one of my subscribers was kind enough to send a bulk buy-in box from the U.S. here. I've been waiting about 4 or 5 months already for that. But what about with coffee now that it's a little more uncertain? How long would it take, do you think, to get to the U.S.?
It's still the same. Sometimes it reaches 2 to 3 days for countries around Asia.
That's amazing.
But for United States, it takes around 7 to 10 days, because customs still needs to clear it, and customs clearing takes about 1 to 2 days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Still quite reasonable though.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're doing it. Do you mind if I ask who your delivery partner is?
So we work with FedEx and DHL.
Okay.
We are constantly trying to have a zoning where, okay, this courier works better with this country. They deliver faster, they have cheaper rates.
Sure.
So we're doing that for our Philippine deliveries also. We zone out, okay, how can we leverage, because we don't want to, it's only for our Manila accounts or Manila loyal clients that we do our own last mile delivery, meaning it's handled by us.
Sure, sure.
But aside from that, we leverage it to reliable couriers that we have worked with. Yeah. For Manila, we can deliver it within 24 hours from ordering.
That's amazing. Guys, I think this is really helpful for those that are thinking about starting a business to consider sometimes what you do isn't necessarily what you do.
Yes.
So you could look at the Good Cup, and they're very passionate about, selling excellent, high quality coffee to people. But some of their biggest problems, it sounds like, have had nothing to do with coffee. It's really been about logistics, making sure that customers receive coffee in a reasonable amount of time as well.
Yes.
So I think successful businesses are those that are really looking at solving problems. I see so many businesses during this time that just kind of threw their hands up and quit. So I really admire business owners that are thinking about solving problems that, believe it or not, here in the Philippines, this is one of those problems that would seem almost impossible to a lot of people. So well done on solving that.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for willing to be interviewed with us. And guys, I got to say, this is not a sponsored ad. What I appreciate is Gio giving us this time. I am a loyal fan of the Good Cup here.
Thank you.
I definitely would encourage you guys to check out the coffee and support the business and the Philippines here as well.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Gio. And guys, thank you so much for watching as always, and take care.